Good morning to all of you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Ma'am, am I audible? Ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Good morning, Maria. Am I audible?
Vigneshwari, ma'am?
Yes.
Vigneshwari, ma'am?
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, ma'am. Are you coming through one gadget or two gadgets, ma'am?
Okay.
Sorry, can't get you.
1 second, 1 second.
Pavai, ma'am? Pavai, ma'am?
What, Maria?
Yes, ma'am. I want to talk to Pavai, ma'am. I don't know who is the MC today, so I have to give him co-host.
Am I audible now?
It's echoing, Vigneshwari.
No?
Slightly echoing.
Okay. Not able to hear.
Have you come to two gadgets, Vigneshwari ma'am?
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Priyadashini ma'am.
Is it, ma'am, is it
Priyadashini.
audible? I am Priyadashini.
Yes, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. MC you are only doing, isn't it, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, thank you. I have given for your two gadgets co-host, ma'am. Please check.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Tangam, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you from only one gadget, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Morning to all.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, sir. Good morning,
Sir,
sir.
our guests have joined, sir.
Yenga, ma'am, good morning. Yenga, ma'am. Yenga, ma'am, please unmute your audio. Yenga, ma'am.
Good morning, Priyanka, ma'am. Could you please unmute
Good
your
morning.
audio?
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Sir, can you hear me? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Priya?
Yes, sir. Shall I start, sir? A warm greetings, one and all gathered here. It is extreme pleasure to welcome you all today, day 4 of 1 week international online faculty program on virtual practices and security. I welcome all the eminent speakers and guests from all over the country. From different walks of life, have came here to share their knowledge and vast experience. We are proud to announce that this one-week international online faculty development program on virtual practices and security is being organized by Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Karapakkam, Chennai, with Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute team to be University Faculty of Education, Chennai. Looking forward, respected Ms. J. Vigneshwari, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Education, Dr. MGR Educational Research and Institute, Chennai, for hearty welcome, big and warm enough to encompass you all. Welcome you, ma'am.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
The whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows. With this note, a pleasant and happy morning to every one of you present here for the 4th day of the Faculty Development Program on Virtual Practices and Security. It's indeed pleasure and privilege to extend our heartfelt welcome to all the dignitaries and executives of Dr. MGR Educational Research Institute and TNT. We extend a warm welcome to all the organizing secretaries and joint organizers of both the universities. We are especially honored to welcome our resource person, Dr. Priyanka Datta, Assistant Professor, Bindanhar College, Salt Lake, Kolkata, on topic Psychological Impact of Online Learning, and a second session by Dr. Muhammad Faisal bin Hani, Associate Professor, Department of Education Management, Faculty of Education, University of Malaysia, on the topic Online Ethical Practices for this 4th day program on virtual practices and security. With the tremendous pleasures, we extend a warm welcome to all the executives, dignitaries, faculty members, research scholars, and teacher educators who have joined us through this online mode to make themselves literate by active learning. Yes, anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. Once again, a gracious welcome to every one of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your hospitable welcome. It is a moment of extreme pleasure to pronounce our resource person. I would like to call upon Dr. T.M. Jnana Soundari, ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of Educational Planning and Administration, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Is my voice is audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Audible.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Good morning to one and all present here. It's time to introduce the resource person, an eminent speaker who is none other than Dr. Priyanka Datta, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, Vidyanagar College, Calcutta, West Bengal. Madam is an academician, especially in the field of education. Her research areas comprise of educational psychology, educational technology, and research methodology. She has achieved a first class, third in Master of Arts and Master of Philosophy from the University of Calcutta, West Bengal in the year of 2006 and 2012 respectively. She ranked first in West Bengal Public Service Commission's 2015 Merit Panel in Education. Her teaching experience covers 2 years in school level, 10.5 years in undergraduate level, and 2 years in the postgraduate level. Presently, Madam is serving as an assistant professor in the UG and the PG Department of Education, Vidyanagar College under West Bengal State University, West Bengal. She has presented several articles in various national and international seminars and conferences all over India and have publications in referred research journals with impact factor. She acted as a resource person in 3 national level online seminars and workshops. She also acted as an expert member and chairperson in an international online conference. She is a member of the Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture, Gold Park, Kolkata, West Bengal, India. On behalf of Organizing Committee of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University and Dr. MGR University, we welcome you, ma'am. I thank Dr. Nagasubramani sir for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. Impressive profile, ma'am. We are grateful to you, ma'am, for gracing our program today as a resource person. Respected Dr. Priyanka, ma'am, Assistant Professor, Vidyanagar College, Salt Lake, Kolkata, West Bengal. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for welcoming me so warmly. I'm Dr. Priyanka Datta. So for inviting me, I would like to first thank Professor N.P. Panchanatham, respected Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, Chennai, Sir Thiru A.C. Shanmugam, Honorable Founder Chancellor Dr. MGR Educational Research Institute, Dr. ACS Arun Kumar, respected President Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute, Chennai. I would also like to thank Dr. S. Gita Lakshmi, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Dr. MGR Education and Research Institute, Chennai. I would like to thank respectable Registrar Professor V. Balakrishnan of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, respected Registrar Professor C.B. Pallanivelu of Dr. MGR Education and Research Institute, Chennai. I also like to thank Dr. P.M. Govindan, respected Dean of Faculty of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, Dr. P. Ganesan, respected Professor and Head of Department of Pedagogical Sciences, Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, Dr. S. Subramani, respected Professor and Head of Department of Educational Planning and Administration of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, Dr. K. Githa, respected Principal of Faculty of Education, Dr. MGR Eri, Chennai, and also the organizing secretaries, Dr. P. C. Naga Supramani, respected Associate Professor of the Department of Pedagogical Sciences of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, Chennai, and Dr. P. Senthamis Pavai, respected Assistant Professor of Dr. MGR Eri, Chennai. Thank you so much for welcoming me. Thank you so much.
Welcome, madam.
Good
Welcome.
morning,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you. Can I request something, sir? Madam, can I request this admit waiting room is coming on my screen. So while I'll be conducting the lecture, it will be very difficult. So can it be made off, sir? Can it be put off?
You can present your screen, ma'am. For us, it won't show.
But it is showing in on my screen. So madam, can it be put off?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now you can proceed now.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sharing my
Thank you.
screen.
Thank you.
Thank you. You got it? Is my screen visible?
Ma'am.
Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So today I have been told to present my presentation on psychological impact of online learning. So before we start, let's discuss what is pedagogy, because as we know that pedagogy is the art of science of teaching or teaching methods. It's an approach to teaching, and it is theory of practice of learning and how this process influences and is influenced by the social, political, and psychological development of learners. As an academic discipline, pedagogy is the study of how knowledge and skills are imparted in an educational context, and it considers the interactions that takes place during learning. What is e-pedagogy? Now, it may be broadly defined as the learning design that incorporates educational quality, values, and effectiveness of teaching, learning, and assessment activities supported by technology. The importance of e-pedagogy involves the knowledge that can be accessed virtually. E-pedagogy encourages collaborative learning. It involves greater involvement in learning, thus promotes active learning. It also enhances productive learning, facilitates students in learning through effective communication, and also involves better sharing and comprehensive acquisition of information. So basically we see that there are two modes of learning, that is the face-to-face learning and the other is the digital learning. What is this face-to-face learning? Now, as we know that face-to-face learning is known as the traditional instruction. It's concerned with the teacher being the controller of the learning environment. She plays the role of an instructor. In this traditional instructional classrooms, students are regarded as having knowledge holes that need to be filled with information. Here in this face-to-face learning mode, ultimately it is the teacher who causes learning to occur. So we see that the traditional pattern of teaching involves the face-to-face learning, and it is to assign students to read textbooks and work on problem set outside school while listening to lectures and taking tests in class. Lecture method is considered to be the one key time tested and long venerated teaching method in face-to-face learning classrooms that remains the most frequently and extensively used method of instruction. So how do we characterize face-to-face learning? As we discussed earlier, that it is a mode of learning which is used in a traditional learning environment where it involves the direct contact between the learners and teacher in same physical setting at specified timings. Here, the course which involves the face-to-face learning, no online technology is used because it's a face-to-face learning, it's a direct contact learning, and no content is delivered online. The content is delivered only in writing or orally to a group of learners. The resource materials which are used in face-to-face learning involves handwritten notes or documents, posters, drawings, objects, and they are used to highlight points, to sustain attention, to help convey and clarify difficult concepts. Face-to-face learning includes lectures, workshops, presentations, tutoring, conference. It involves the appointment of experts and faculty to guide participants, provide them feedback, and as well suggestions. Now let us discuss the demerits of face-to-face learning. We see that the face-to-face learning ignore individual differences and needs of the learners. It encourages passive learning. It is a very routine and boring mode of learning because it only emphasizes on surface learning. It's a teacher-dependent transfer of knowledge. Here, teacher teaches as per her space or and teaching style. Here, learners face difficulties in learning the contents who do not adjust their learning pace with the teacher. Hence, the students do not pay attention to problem solving, critical thinking, or other higher order thinking skills. As we see that the National Curriculum Framework 2005, it stated that a teacher dominated pedagogy which relegates learners to a passive role, emphasizes on memorization and limits interactions between learners, is unlikely to promote effective learning. Let's also see the theories which involve the face-to-face learning. As we know, the well-known educationist John Dewey, he argued that learning occurs in collaboration with knowledgeable others. Psychologist Jean Piaget, he noted that in order for learning to occur, the content must be meaningful to the student. Piaget's constructivist theory of learning highlighted the importance of engaged learning, where meaningful discussions were held between peers. The sociologist Lev Vygotsky also emphasized the importance of social interaction in learning. So we see that with the advancement of science and technology gradually got integrated in education. which ultimately brought a paradigm shift in teaching and learning, thus shifting from the face-to-face learning mode to digital learning. So we see that in this paradigm shift, the traditional classrooms, which uh, includes a passive learning, it emphasizes passive learning. So here it emphasizes on surface learning, learning by listening, and it does not facilitate deep learning. It gives very little emphasis on problem solving, decision making, on analytical thinking. Whereas the modern classrooms, it the stresses on active learning. Here it emphasizes on meaningful and in-depth learning. Learning by doing. Active learning helps to improve understanding and retention and gives greater emphasis on developing higher order skills like problem solving and critical thinking. The NCTE 2013 recommended that successful participants in this 21st century global society must be able to develop proficiency and fluency with the tools of technology. The Digital India campaign, it's a flagship program. It was launched on the 1st of July 2015 by the Government of India with a vision to transform India into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy. The National Education Policy 2020 also recommended that India is a global leader in information and communication technology. Technology plays an important role in the improvement of educational processes and outcomes at all levels, from school to higher education. Now, with the recent rise in epidemics and pandemics, it recognizes the need and importance of leveraging the advantages of technology in the field of education. So, we see that the modern education emphasizes on digital learning. It is any type of learning that is accompanied by technology or by instructional practice that makes effective use of technology. Digital learning encompasses the application of a wide spectrum of pedagogies or practices of teaching that combine technology and learning to enhance the learning experience rather than replacing the traditional methods altogether. So let us see the pedagogies that incorporate digital learning. It involves the online learning, blended learning, flipped learning, one-to-one learning, differentiated learning, individualized learning, personalized learning, and gamification. So we see that the digital learning strategy may include any or a combination of any of the following, which includes the online learning, adaptive learning, badging and gamification, blended learning, classroom technologies, e-textbooks, learning analytics, learning objects, mobile learning. Now in pandemic, we are seeing that there is an increased use of mobile phones, the computers, laptops. So these are all a digital learning strategy. Personalized learning, open educational resources, technology enhanced teaching and learning, virtual reality, augmented reality are all parts of the digital learning strategy. So, if we take the online learning, we see that it is one of the pedagogies or practices of digital learning. Online learning is catalyzing a pedagogical shift in how we teach and learn. It involves courses that are 100% virtual. It excludes the massive open online courses. Online learning refers to the delivery of a learning, training, or educational program by electronic means. It includes the use of computer or electronic means in some ways to provide training, education, or learning material. So, Online learning is anything delivered, enabled, or mediated by electronic technology for explicit purpose of learning. It involves communication between learners and teachers utilizing online content. Now, this online learning can be provided through the use of self-paced independent study units like the asynchronous interactive sessions where participants interact at different times, or synchronous interactive settings where learners meet in real time. Now, this online learning involves the resources of ebooks, journals, videos, recorded lectures, quizzes, discussion forums, live question answer sessions, and interviews as well. The online learning mostly occurs, we see that through a college or university's learning management system. Now, what is this learning management system? A learning management system is a software application for maintaining, delivering, and tracking educational resources. Like the Educators Center for Analysis and Research, it reports that use of a learning management system is nearly ubiquitous as 99% of colleges and universities report having one in place. For example, the Blackboard, it currently dominates the learning management system environment with an adoption rate of 31.9%, followed by Moodle at 19.1% and Word at 15.3%. Now let's see the types of online learning courses. It involves the partially online course or the fully online course. Now, partially online course integrates existing resource materials that are available either in print or non-print form, such as textbooks, with some elements of online learning. This might include the use of a learning management system or simply a mailing list for some asynchronous discussion. Whereas the fully online learning is one that have most of its learning and teaching activities carried out online. Now, these are the models of online learning courses. It includes a wraparound model and the integrated model. Now, what is this wraparound model? The wraparound model of online learning courses relies on study materials comprising online study guides, activities, and discussions wrapped around existing previously published resources such as the textbooks or CD-ROMs. It represents a resource-based approach to learning as it seeks to use existing material that is relatively unchanging and is already available online or offline. Such courses, once they are developed, can be taught or tutored by persons other than the course developers. Collaborative learning activities in the form of group work, discussion among peers, and online assessment are the requirements of the course. Whereas the integrated model of online learning course is closest to a full online learning course. It is offered via comprehensive learning management system. It comprises availability of subject matter in electronic format, like opportunities for computer conferencing, small group-based collaborative online activities, and online assessment of learning outcomes. So the learning and teaching in this integrated model takes place in computer conferences in which prescribed readings and assigned tasks are discussed. This model dissolves the distinctions between teaching and learning in favor of facilitation of learning. So as we discussed the online mode, now let us see that the paradigm shift that has taken place from face-to-face learning to online learning. What online mode of learning, what is the basic difference between the two? So the online mode of learning refers to several synchronous and asynchronous learning activities that I discussed earlier, and it needs to use digital devices and internet connectivity. It accesses the e-resources, it attends online virtual sessions, it performs individual group activities, it involves participating in workshops, webinars related to classroom, it engages into virtual labs, simulations, museums, webinars, e-conferences, and many others. Whereas the face-to-face learning mode is any instructional activity for which students and teachers physically meet on campus or out of campus in same geographical environments. It involves attending the teacher's short duration lectures for understanding complex concepts. It resolves queries based on self-learning or group learning. So in face-to-face learning mode, participating in group activities in classroom with peers is usually used mainly for analyzing and applying information sought through e-resources. Face-to-face learning mode also involves collaborating and co-creating new knowledge, borrowing, accessing books and periodicals from the library. It also involves field visits, sports, and face-to-face learning. So we see that these are the basic two differences. So what does the online instructions offer us? It offers the interactive technology-based learning, individualized pacing and privacy that keeps students continuously engaged and motivated. The online learning environment provides a greater degree of flexibility than traditional classroom settings. Online platforms can also offer more diverse representations of student populations as learners prepare for working in the 21st century. Whereas the teacher-led instruction, which are provided in the face-to-face learning modes in traditional classrooms, they personalizes the learning experience and adds the human elements of encouragement, compassion, and caring guidance that only teachers can give. So this is one of the most important characteristics and benefits of the teacher-led instruction. But we see that the online education has become very popular because of its perceived potential to provide more flexible access to content and instruction than the face-to-face learning mode by increasing the availability of learning experiences for those who cannot or choose not to attend traditional schools. It involves assembling and disseminating instructional content more efficiently, increasing the student-teacher ratios where achieving learning outcomes equals to those of traditional classroom instruction. So we see that the online learning follows the transformative pedagogy, which encourages students to critically examine their assumptions, grapple with social issues, and engage in social action. Now, how do we prepare the online environment for transformative pedagogy? We create a safe and inviting environment. Online environment is a safe and inviting environment. It encourages students to think about their experiences, beliefs, and biases. It uses teaching strategies that promote student engagement and participation. Online environment, the learning environment, they poses real world problems that addresses societal inequalities, and it helps students to implement action oriented solutions. So online learning can increase educational productivity. This is one of the most important benefits of online learning. And how does it do? By improving learning opportunities, by broadening access to resources and experiences, engaging students in active learning, individualizing and differentiating instruction, personalizing learning, maximizing teacher and student time, and also most importantly providing immediate feedback on performance of students, which is considered to be the most effective ways of improving student retention and their performance scores. So just in a crux, we see the benefits of online learning, like accessibility. It gives immediate feedback, but it involves personalized learning. It develops the cognitive abilities. It helps to gain computer skills, equal opportunities to all. It provides equal opportunities to all and is also cost effective. So, due to its various usefulness, online education has clearly become integral to the future of all lives of education around the world. Now, speaking of the world, we see that the 21st century world is recently undergoing a major crisis due to sudden outbreak and rapid widespread of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Wikipedia 2020 refers to coronavirus disease 2019 as the infectious disease caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2. In January 2020, the World Health Organization declared an emergency of international concern. It stated that there is a high risk of COVID 19 spreading to other countries around the world. And in March 2020, as we know, the World Health Organization made the assessment that COVID 19 can be characterized as a pandemic. So, as of today, that is 10 June 2021, it is seen that more than 174 million cases have been confirmed of having COVID-19, resulting more than 3.75 million confirmed deaths attributed to COVID-19, making it one of the deadliest pandemics in history. Now, due to COVID-19 15, the world undergone a major crisis. It seemed that the entire world is found unexpectedly to grapple with the challenge to deviate from their normal life and being enmeshed in their homes as the government imposed a nationwide lockdown to prevent further spread of COVID-19. Now, due to this breakout of COVID-19, several preventive measures were taken, like social distancing, self isolation, and mandated quarantine, which inflicted an unfathomable effect on the people as they had to refrain themselves from the normal human activities. Due to lockdown, all sorts of organizations, including schools, colleges, universities, offices, all were closed at a very short notice. The situation enormously disrupted the social and economic life. It inflicted a gruesome impact on the psychological well being of almost every individual in every affected country across the globe. Now we see that what was the impact, what has been the impact of pandemic on psychological health of general people. Due to this pandemic, ongoing pandemic, it has created a sense of uncertainty, stress, anxiety, panic attacks, sleep disturbances, and excessive worry for many individuals, arising both from the disease itself and from response measures such as social distancing and lockdown. The people had been suffering from fear of falling ill and dying. They are avoiding health care due to fear of being infected while in care. They are in fear of losing work and livelihoods. They are in fear of being socially excluded, fear of being placed in quarantine. They are suffering from feeling of powerlessness in protecting oneself and loved ones. They are suffering from fear of being separated from loved ones and caregivers, And also, they are refusing for care for vulnerable individuals due to fear of infection. So, the people are undergoing the feelings of helplessness, lack of self esteem to do anything in daily life. They are going through boredom, loneliness, and depression due to being isolated. They are also having fear of reliving the experience of a previous pandemic and the risk of deterioration of physical and mental health of vulnerable individuals if care and support is not in place. Now, if we talk about our children, we see that how gruesome had been its impact. Our children are trying to make sense of the overwhelming uncertainty in front of us due to the ongoing global pandemic caused by the COVID-19. They're experiencing its dramatic effects, leading to colossal changes to their everyday lives, and even more alarmingly to their prospects for their immediate and distant future. So, these unprecedented circumstances due to the COVID-19 pandemic severely impacted educational system globally. It led to the closure of institutions. So in 2020, in light of this rising concern about this pandemic, educational institutions, the schools, the colleges, the universities were closed physically. As of September 2020, approximately 1.7077 billion learners were affected due to school closures in response to the pandemic. According to UNICEF monitoring, as of March 2020, 53 countries had closed all schools, impacting about 61.6% of the world's student population. This had a huge impact not only on students, teachers, and families, but have far reaching economical and societal consequences. So the major adverse consequences due to school closure had been that interrupted learning, poor nutrition, confusion and stress for teachers. Parents were unprepared for this distance and homeschooling. There were gaps in childcare. It also involves high economic costs and led to a rise in dropout rates. It increased exposure to violence and exploitation of the children, also led to social isolation. Moreover, it also involved the challenges measuring and validating learning. So now we'll discuss the impact of pandemic on the psychological health of students. Now, due to the closure of the institutions and home confinement, 91% of the world's student population have been negatively impacted. Students' regular schedules have been disrupted with no clear idea of when will they be restored. In some situations, they may be separated from parents either because they are quarantined or their parents are quarantined. So they are undergoing a feeling of worry and depression about their personal health issues, also about the health issues for their loved ones. So they're experiencing a range of psychological issues, which involved the stress, anger, anxiety, fear, worry, inattention, irritability, depression, loneliness, boredom, and uncertainty, difficulty in sleeping and loss of appetite, also acute stress disorder and post traumatic stress disorder and grief. So, all these psychological health issues actually are causing debilitating effects on the educational, psychological, and developmental attainment of the students. The Higher Education Policy Institute report, it stated that around 63% of students claimed that their mental health had been worsened as a result of the pandemic. In an October 2020 global study, it was found that the negative emotions experienced by the students were, it was found that 45.2% of the students are suffering from boredom, 39.8% from anxiety, 39.1% from frustration, 25.9% from anger, 18.8% from hopelessness, and 10% from shame. Physical harm, such as overdose, suicide, and substance abuse, also reached an all time high. So, the effects on students' mental health and physical health as well from the pandemic will not end here. It will continue even when the pandemic is over. Not only the normal students, this pandemic had also affected the psychological health of various physical and mental disabled children because they are more vulnerable during this trying time. The kind of therapeutic inputs, various therapies, special schooling, psychotropic medication, all these are which they had been receiving before the pandemic. Now they are not readily available to them because of the lockdown. So the children and adolescents with mental health conditions are not used to this kind of variation in the environment. The social isolation which had occurred caused due to this pandemic, it has worsened the living situation of children in abusive environments as well as with children with special needs. Moreover, the economic hardships and the potential worsening of parental, physical, or psychological illnesses, including the substance use disorders, may take a toll on all this kind of children. Children may even go through loss and grief at this time. Hence, there could be an exacerbation in symptoms and behavioral problems of these children. If we talk about the international students, we see that they're also staying far from home, and they're not only that they are worried about their health, safety, and education, they also have a huge number of concern for the well-being of their families. Students who manage to go home can be worried about being unable to return to their respective institutions or for further studies. So we see that the international students are also going through a mental distress due to this pandemic. So overall, we see that the pandemic has impacted nearly all aspects of lives of students, including the academic work and life, because the switching onto the online lectures or tutorials, the closed libraries, changed communication channels for teachers and administrative support, new assessment methods, different workloads, and performance levels. If we talk about the social life, we see that the closure of institutions and hostels, what happened? The students moved back to home. So they have no meetings with their friends or classmates or relatives, neither they are traveling. They're only have many of them have remained trapped abroad and couldn't come back to home. Moreover, the personal financial situation also affected the students because loss of jobs of their parents, worries about the financial situations of their families also affected their future education and career. And lastly, the emotional health of the students had also been affected because they are undergoing fears, frustrations, anxiety, anger, and boredom. Now we see that due to the connection between the academic achievement and a student's psychological health, we can say that students who struggle psychologically during the pandemic may be assumed also to struggle academically, increasing the impact on their learning and growth. Now, due to this pandemic and closure of the institutions, we see that it had been an unprecedented impact on education. Because in order to reduce the spread of the coronavirus, most governments temporarily closed educational institutions around the world, which prompted all educational institutions across the world to hastily and rapidly transition to online learning in lieu of holding classes in person in traditional face-to-face classrooms. Now, the immediate effects due to this immediate shift of online to online learning, it was seen that the teachers were asked to immediately replace their planned classroom activities with substitute activities that students could carry out remotely while aiming to preserve the integrity of their courses and learning outcomes. Lessons that would have normally be taken place in lectures, laboratories, discussions were necessarily replaced by online assignments, in many cases by teachers with little experience of teaching online. The students underwent a corresponding contortion as classrooms and other forms of in-person learning transitioned fully toward effort invested in online home assignments. So, regarding the implementation of online learning, we see that before the COVID-19 outbreak, many educational institutions have already implemented online instructions for their students as a supplement for face-to-face learning to offer diverse learning options for the students. But during the COVID-19 pandemic, online instructions are no more optional but made mandatory for all students in order to offer continued education and protect their health and safety. Now let us see some of the positive impacts of online learning on students. Online learning, as we had known, that it provides flexibility and convenience to complete learning units when and where a learner desires. So it is mostly a student-centric education. It enables students and teachers to set their own learning pace. Online educational platform allows for a better balance of work and studies. Here, both students and teachers have more autonomy. It facilitates learning by providing real life context to actively engage learners to analyze, synthesize, and evaluate information while constructing knowledge and solving complex problems. Online learning helps to promote reflective thought and deep learning through realistically integrating and applying principles learned. So here the students learn better time management skills, they learn to accept new responsibilities, they learn self-discipline and self-motivation, and increased personal responsibility and independent working. Also, they learn better increased communication and feedback. So, online programs are generally more affordable. It allows for more customized, dynamic, and tailor made education learning experience. But with the emergence of online learning, there had been the emergence of challenges during this pandemic situation. Because due to this ongoing pandemic crisis for more than 2 years now, and the total dependence on online learning for continuing their education, both students and teachers faced numerous unforeseen challenges in education and training. We see that poor communication in online learning, students are also feeling isolated, they lack motivation. There are other problems like lack of funds, lack of quality, and poor accessibility in remote areas. So, what are the challenges of online learning that were found to emerge during this pandemic? The students and teachers experienced profound burnout and fatigue. The lack of adequate online teaching learning experience, that lack of time for preparing online learning courses, they have problems in figuring out how to make use of support from educational technology teams. So both the students and teachers face problems when studying and teaching at homes, such as weakness of online teaching infrastructures, inexperience of teachers regarding new technologies, the information gap, and the complex environment at home causing several distractions. Not all are able to find suitable spaces for home learning or teaching. We have to understand this. And so, the teaching and learning may also be constrained by insufficient hardware and unstable networks. The challenges of online learning during pandemic, it impacted on students severely. Now, while there are some students who are thriving through online learning, but since online learning was mandated due to COVID-19, it generated some concerns, such as students' dissatisfaction with their learning, lack of knowledge enhancement for their future career, low academic performance, lack of students' accessibility to online learning due to lack of technological support. Moreover, students from low income countries, remote areas, and marginalized sections mainly face massive challenges to study in online learning environment, especially during this pandemic. They had lack of access to household computers, internet connections, digital resources. Many students live in areas where there are poor mobile networks. And since mobile phones had been the most widely used internet enabled device, but we have to understand that they are difficult to use as an online learning tool by many students. The psychological impact of online learning involved poor communication. It involves poor communication because in online learning, learners lack opportunity to have face-to-face interaction with the teacher, which is very significant for establishing a bond between the student and the teacher and other students. Online learning can create misunderstandings between student and teacher, which may have detrimental effect on the teaching learning process and student outcomes due to this misinterpretation of tasks. Students may undergo through a feeling of isolation, and it is a definite drawback of online learning. It can have adverse health consequences ranging from sleeplessness to reduced immune function. Loneliness is associated with higher anxiety, depression, and suicide rates, even can cause from this feeling of isolation in online learning. Many students may prompt to fall behind their peers. They may lose confidence and drop out from their studies. Another psychological impact of online learning is the lack of motivation. Online learners lack motivation while studying because they easily get distracted towards any other thing. Working at their own pace becomes a disadvantage for students who have difficulty with time management and a tendency of procrastination. They can feel their learning from online courses to be limited, lack quality, and be less effective as compared to the traditional face-to-face learning. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There were some problems, sorry. So, as I was saying that online learning can cause lack of motivation because online learners may lack motivation while studying because they easily get distracted towards any other thing. Working at their own pace becomes a disadvantage for students who have difficulty with time management and a tendency of procrastination. They can feel their learning from online courses to be limited, lack quality, be less effective as compared to the traditional face-to-face learning. Now, as we discussed about students, let's also see that what has been the psychological impact of online learning during pandemic on teachers. Now, with educational institutions completely switching to online learning, the workload and the learning load of adopting a new delivery mode, that is the online mode, is seen to be taking a huge toll on the lives of teachers. Teachers are feeling the huge stress of remaking their classes into effective digital forms to make teaching learning effective for students. The additional workload and concomitant anxiety are heaped upon the already multifaceted responsibilities of teachers. Now, this added load has heightened the concerns of teachers' burnout. Many teachers are already living on the edge of burnout in meeting the teaching, advising, research, and publication expectations are facing. Because of all this, they are facing an emotional letdown or even they are collapsing. So, teachers are also experiencing mental and emotional pressures. They are also facing deterioration in physical health. Let now see that online learning due to this pandemic situation, what are the psychological impact that the students are it has on the students. Now, we see that the online learning may result in a wide variety of behaviors, including computer anxiety, frustration due to technological hitches, the increased phone usage are resulting in headaches, decreased attention, shortness of temper, sleep disorders, loneliness, and depression. Since students are sitting with their computers or laptops and they are not allowed to go outside due to this lockdown or social distancing, the decreased physical activity are causing in them anxiety, depression, negative mood, lower self-esteem, and social withdrawal. Students who having less direct contact to close family members and friends due to this pandemic, they are getting led to the anxiety and social incompatibility. The lack of social support from friends and family are causing depression, loneliness, emotional disturbances, and even suicide among the students. They are feeling isolated and worry for the loss of social interaction. Especially the students from families of middle and lower economic conditions, they are feeling anxious and stressed about their parents' income reduction or loss of jobs due to the lockdown, for not being able to afford to pay school fees or buy internet data required for online learning. So this worry about economic impact on their lives, the cabin their academics and society at large are causing in them insecurity, depression, aggression, and even emotional distress. It is seen that the female students are at higher risk of facing negative mental health consequences. The students, we have to understand, they may have been similarly unprepared like the teachers for the transition to complete online education in this pandemic situation. It's affecting the learners very badly, especially those with poor study habits and time management skills may fall behind in academic attainment. They might get distressed and burdened due to increased study workloads and assignments. They are worrying about their academic delays. So, effective online learning requires self regulation skills, particularly time management and self-efficacy. And due to their unpreparedness for online learning, they may face emotional distress. Online learning also threatens to commercialize education. It may isolate students and the faculty members, the teachers. It may reduce standards or even devalue online education degrees, causing mental stress among students. So, after discussing the psychological impact of online learning, especially in this pandemic situation, now we will discuss how to deal with this stress. How can these children be helped in dealing with the stress? Now, the IS reference group in emergency settings, they recommended to encourage active listening and understanding attitude with the children, to help children to feel relieved by finding positive ways to express and communicate their disturbing feelings in a safe and supportive environment. If possible, make opportunities for children to play and relax. Keep children too close to their parents and family. If children are separated from their caregivers, it must ensure regular and frequent contact. The child protection and safeguarding measures of children needs to be addressed. I'm just touching upon, since it's already 12, so I'm shortening my lecture. Okay. The World Health Organization, it all has for recommended that the carers of children, they must role model healthy behaviors, routines, and coping skills, maintain family routines as much as possible, and provide age appropriate engaging activities, monitor children's social media for safety, avoid separating children from parents and carers as much as possible. So to improve the psychological health during pandemic, everyone should participate in enjoyable activities and return to normal life as much as possible. Okay. Now, as to role of parents, they must devote time to provide the child with undivided positive attention and reassurance. To increase children awareness about COVID-19, it is crucial for parents to communicate with young children in their age-appropriate manner. They must act a role model, and they must make efforts to maintain a consistent routine and provide more praise and so reinforcements. If parents observe minor and not harmful behavior problems, they must consider ignoring them, as this may lead to decrease in the recurrence in behavior. For the adolescents, the parents need to encourage to learn responsibility, accountability, and involvement and collaboration. So there are many slides. I'm just touching upon the teachers also plays an important role in promotion of psychological well-being of students in online learning. They must explain to students about the need to act with responsibility during the current pandemic. So I'm just brushing through the slides because I need to conclude. The educational institutions also have an important role for effective online learning. And the points we should remember is that online learning is expected to continue during the pandemic and even post-pandemic. So we need to mitigate potential risks and adapt people's new perceptions about personal hygiene and different instructional methods. It is important to develop viable pedagogical strategies for the online teaching to enhance students' online learning engagement and learning outcomes for long-term benefits. So both teachers and students need to make extra efforts to handle their online courses under this challenging time, managing both psychological and physical stresses effectively and wisely. So to conclude, the rapid evolution of ICT, that is information and communication technology, and the increasing complexity that comes with its vast potential explains why integration of technology in education continues to receive special attention, particularly in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. A sincere support by the government, private, public, and public, and their coordinated efforts through careful and extensive plans, policies, and investments in online learning will not only help to assuage the immediate disruption in the fields of education, but also, most importantly, alleviate the psychological distress of students, teachers, and parents resulted by the COVID-19 pandemic and help them to live a normal, healthy life. Thus, with all these harmonized efforts, can facilitate in fighting the ongoing COVID-19 crisis and build a brighter, efficient, and healthier world. Thank you.
Very nice, madam. Thank you.
ma'am.
Good presentation, Priya, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
In fact, a lot of information about the challenges faced at the present time, very useful information to apply immediately. And I took away a lot of valuable tips and information to overcome the challenges in the teacher learning community. Your input was very much appreciated by all, ma'am. I was reminded again and again of depth of your tool bag, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I may now call
I'm
upon
really-
Ms. A. Tangam, Assistant Professor, Dr. MGR Education Research Institute, Chennai, to show her gratitude. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Saying thank you is more than good manners. It is good spirituality, a warm and cherished note to everyone. It is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who worked hard to make this session on this pandemic time. On behalf of Faculty of Education, Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute University, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and the entire fraternity of the Institute. First of all, my sincere thanks to Almighty God for making today's event a grand success. I give a really heartfelt vote of thanks to our resource person, Dr. Priyanka Datta, Assistant Professor, Bidanagar, Salt Lake, Kolkata, West Bengal, who spent her time gracing the occasion. Today, we had the opportunity to hear your work and sharing with us your findings and opinions in the topic psychological impact of online learning. Thank you, ma'am. I'm very grateful to thank Ms. Priyadarshini for her efforts towards today anchoring. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank Ms. J. Vigneshwari and Dr. T.M. Jnana Sauntari for their wonderful speech. A special mention to our venerable principal, Dr. K. Geeta, being the catalyst that inspired us to do our best and stand as a pillar of power. Thank you, ma'am. With a deep sense of appreciation, I would like to thank all the dignitaries and coordinators for their untiring efforts. I heartfully thank all the participants who have attended FDP with patience. Once again, I thank all for your cordial cooperation. Thank you, everyone.
Ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Priya, madam. Very good.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm delighted to call upon Dr. M. Uttamil Selvan, Assistant Professor, Department of Pedagogical Science, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai, to introduce our honorable resource person.
Muhammad, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Madam. I'm audible. I'm audible, sir.
Yes, Muttamil. Okay.
Welcome, sir.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon, all of you.
Good afternoon, sir.
I am very happy to introduce Dr. Mohammad Faisal bin Gyani, Department of Education Management, Planning and Policy, Faculty of Education, from University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Sir is highly resourceful and highly learned and great academician, and recipient of many awards and rewards. Professor Mohammad Faisal bin Gyani got Best Poster Award, University of Malaya, Bronze Award, International Conference, APM Tan University, Malaysia, Silver Award, International Summit, Platinum Award, Innovation Competition. To add more to his credit, editorial board member and peer-reviewed member more than 10 international journals. Professor published 222 articles in reputed journals. Sir published 11 books. Professor generally delivered keynote address, more than 20 conferences and seminars. Such a great and elite personality is present with us, chair this session. On behalf of organizing committee and my own behalf, welcome you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Muhammad sir. Sir, good afternoon, Muhammad sir.
Sir, welcome, sir.
I'm delighted to call upon our respected resource person, Dr. Muhammad Faisal bin A. Ghani, Associate Professor, Department of Educational Management, Faculty of Education, University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Welcome you, sir. We are honored.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome, sir.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay. Shall I start now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. First and foremost, I would like to thank to the chairperson, Miss Dr. M. Mutta, Miss Selvam, and also Priya Villain, and the I think this is for, I think this program, I mean this this program is for the faculty, right? For your faculty, and all the management and faculty members. So this is the topic of mine that has been given by the organizer, online ethical practices, but I'm focusing on Malaysian context. Okay. Okay, this is the content which I will touch on. Okay, conceptual definitions, ethic. We will touch on the definition of ethic and moral practices, online practices, online ethical practices in Malaysian context, computer ethics, application of online ethic practices in Malaysia education, application of online ethical practices during COVID pandemic. It is focusing on online learning, and then we will sum up about this talk. Okay. Okay, the introduction, it is about the conceptual definition which was given by the organizer. It's about variables of my topics. Okay, first is about ethic and moral. So what is ethic? So ethic is a system of moral principles that affect how people make decisions and lead their life. Ethic is concerned with what is good for individual and society, and it is also described as moral philosophy. Okay, this is about moral. Moral are principles and values based on what a person or society believe are the right, proper, or acceptable ways of behaving. Sorry. Okay, this is the comparison between ethic and morals. So ethic is more focused on social system, external, and moral is about individual, meaning to say that if we talk about moral, so we touch on ourselves. So ethic is about social people. So why we do it? Because social says is the right thing to do, meaning to say that if we would like to do, we have to look around whether the norm or the ethic is accepted by our surrounding people. Different from moral because we believe in something being right or wrong, meaning to say that we ask ourselves, if we like to do something, first we ask ourselves, is right or wrong, before we prior to doing that. So what if we don't do it? We may face peer or societal disapproval, or even be fired from our job, meaning to say that if we're not being in the ethic which accepted by society, so we will be behind from them. Okay, so our topic, so my topic is focused on ethic, not moral. Okay. How about practice? This is part of my variable for my topic. So practicing. Okay, this is the idea of scholars, Samuel Baron. Practicing is essentially repetition. You repeat thing over and over. There is a goal in this activity. Through repetition, you achieve something that might be called a groove in the brain of a habit. Meaning to say that practicing is being repeated activities until we develop culture. That's practices. I think same as another scholars by saying practice a repeated performance or systematic exercise for the purpose of learning or acquiring proficiency, meaning that repeated activities. Okay, and this is different between practice and process. So in street language, a process is a short-term, well-defined, repeatable step that achieve a predictable result, meaning that it happened in a short term compared to practice. Ongoing pursuit of a goal and interest often comprise of many processes, meaning that it takes a long term to achieve the goal for practice. Okay, how about online? So we just pick the important thing related to telecommunication and technology. The thing which I highlighted in red indicate a state of connectivity. It is the opposite of offline, which indicate a disconnected, commonly used the two term in for internet connection. Okay, if something is online, it could mean that it is under the direct control of something else. In other words, another device. It may also mean that something is under the direct control of a system. So if we say online, meaning that we are on this one. So this is the sum up or the summary of online. Okay, by showing you the figure. Online, this one, connected on the network, available for use on the internet. So that's online. Okay, conceptual definition for online ethic. So just now we already know ethic means thing which have to be think of about what people, not ourselves, what people do. So recognize that your, okay, I think this one, your online representation is not other world, but as extension of your personality and our extension of the existing society that you are part of it. Meaning to say that online practices mean we not only think about ourselves, but how about people, other people or society says if we do right or wrong. Okay, but okay, this is, I think you can read by yourselves. I will pass on this slide after this to the organizer. Okay, and okay, other people, I mean other countries like Singapore, they prefer to use this term, internet ethic. Okay? So there are principles and guidelines to be applied, which while using the internet, code of ethics have been made to make the internet a safe place for its user. Okay, this is just example. Okay, another. Okay, this example. Ethic, internet ethic. Children should be supervised when using the internet because they are among the most vulnerable user of the internet. So the scholar says internet ethic means acceptable behavior for using internet. We should be honest, respect the rights and property of others on the internet. Okay, this is other scholars thinking viewpoint. Is what considered to be not morally right, wrong, and wrong that is general accepted by online community. So the thing which is very important for us to identify about the term for internet and online is about technology, ICT. And then second one, ethic is more on thing which we have to consider if we're doing, to consider about people if we're doing right or wrong. Okay. Okay, how about Malaysian context? Okay, in Malaysia, okay, we call it computer ethics. So we have many, we have various variable of ethic, online ethic, internet ethic, and computer ethic. Okay? So in Malaysia, we call it computer ethic. Okay, so I think the similar definition with internet and online. Ethic is set, and we already know ethic is set of moral principles that govern the behavior of a group or individual, meaning the ethic is unwritten. Law, we will touch on the difference between ethic and law. Ethic is more on ourselves, it's not unwritten. Okay, therefore, computer ethic is set of moral principles that regulate the use of computer. Some common issues of computer ethics include intellectual property rights, such as copyright, electronic content, privacy concern, and how computer affect society. Okay. In Malaysia context, the thing which we concern about computer ethics is this one: fairness, integrity, openness, responsibility, commitment to accuracy and truth. So that's why I inform you that ethics is more on unwritten, not right. Law is written. Okay, this is a part of example. Computer ethic. Members of a professional should act always for the maintenance for the community rather than sectional interests. This is more on this one, there's integrity. Okay, so as this one, fair and honest mean should be used to obtain material, including information, misrepresentations, and the user of consult equipment or surveillance device should be avoided. This is more on, and also responsibility and integrity. Members of an organization should have equal opportunity to develop their skill. This is also on this one, fairness, integrity. Integrity means we have as a boss or leader, as a leader we have to do everything in the manner of integrity. So this is example, members. This one, the employer or leader organization is obliged to provide a healthy and safe working environment. This is about responsibility. And so in Malaysian context, if we discuss about computer ethic, so computer is more on ICT. Ethic is more on unwritten what we call it, unwritten governance of ourselves. So it is content of five categories: fairness, integrity, openness, responsibility, and commitment to accuracy and truth. Okay, this is more, I think this is more example of how computer ethics work in Malaysia. Okay, we just touch on this one. Activities outside work hours may be seen to have an impact on the individuals or employer organization, meaning to say that if we use organization material of ICT, okay, so out of if it's not outside of our work hours, so we try not to use the material of ICT that's owned by our organization. Okay, this is more on example of how computer ethics work in Malaysia. Okay, this two, sorry. Okay, this is example. Okay, this is sum up of the variable computer ethic. Just now we already touched on, is a system of moral standard or moral value used as a guideline for computer user. Okay, code of ethic is a guideline in ICT that helps determine whether a specific computer action is ethic or unethic. Okay, intellectual property, privacy, computer crime is an illegal act involving computers. So cyber law is a law relating to the protect the internet and other online communication technologies. So as I told you just now, I think it's more on unwritten. So law, this one, cyber law, is more on written. So this is the comparison. Sorry. This is example of cyber law in Malaysia. We have Communication and Multimedia Act, Computer Crime. We have Digital Signatures Act, Electronic Commerce Act, Personal Data Protection Act. This is written. This is written which guide or govern Malaysian society, in particular the public servant. Okay, so this is example the comparison between ethic and law as a guideline to computer user, as a rule to control computer user. Computer user are free to follow. It's up to us. If we talk about ethic, it's up to us whether we like to follow or not. Universal can be applied anywhere to produce ethic computer user, ethical. A good user of computer by following the ethic. Not following ethic are called immoral. Not as law. If we not obey law, we call crime. It is a crime for, and is what we call it as it's a big error in Malaysian country. In Malaysia, if not follow the law, if you obey the law. Okay, online ethical practices in Malaysian education. Since we are in educational field, so I prefer to talk about education. So this is the background. Malaysia implemented the first computer system in 1966. The government introduced various initiatives to promote the usage of ICT and improve the field of industry and education. So ICT enabled smart school under this kind of computer ethic. So we have smart school. In Malaysia, we have smart school. So what is smart school? The aim of this school is to help the country achieve the aim of the national philosophy of education, as well as to foster the development of workforce prepared to meet the challenges of the 21st century, meaning to say that we know that 21st century, we have 0.4, RI 0.4, revolution, industrial revolution, 4.4 is more on computer, it's more on ICT. So we, in Malaysia, we already introduced one type of school, we call it smart school. So 88 pilot schools in Malaysia. Okay, Vision 2020, we also set up Vision 2020 during this era, 1918, along with established a smart school, we also establish or develop our vision, Vision 2020, call for sustained productivity-driven growth, which will only be achievable with a technology literate workforce prepared to participate in the 21st century global economy. Meaning to say that the content of one of the content, part of the content or general content which debate in Vision 2020 is to produce workforce which know better about ICT. Okay, we call it balance. Perfect workforce which balance intellectual, spiritual, emotional, and physical, and also social. ICT is consists of this one component, intellectual. Okay, example of how the application of online ethic in Malaysian education. So it is example, incentive the development of ICT structured expand access to an equal for ICT facilities. Actually, in Malaysia, we have rural and urban area of school, so we have to be equal to spread the facilities, in particular ICT facilities. Improve assessment and evaluation system using ICT, meaning to say if we provide ICT facilities, so we have to assess, we have to evaluate the effectiveness of using ICT. Or that's why in this kind of school, this kind of school, smart school, we have pilot school, meaning to say we identify the effectiveness of 88 school which under this program, smart school. So if okay, so we continue implementing this kind of school, smart school. So improve, emphasize ICT integration into teaching and learning processes, and we will touch on online during pandemic, COVID pandemic. Okay, improve ICT knowledge and skill of student, teacher, and other personnel. Intensify usage of ICT in education management, meaning to say that we give them skill, not only skill, teacher and management people. Okay, improve the management and maintenance of ICT equipment, increase research and development of effort in ICT, and increase cooperation between education institution and community towards expansion of ICT in education, meaning to say that we ask for help, in particular about expertise of expert of how to enhance the quality of ICT in education. Okay, this is also the effort done by our government in order to have, in order to imply or to carry out the ethic, online ethic, reduce the digital divide that exists in different parts of country by providing computer labs, thousands of schools, sharing session on ICT use among teachers, peer teaching and team teaching, meaning that teacher do those are new. We call it novice. Novice teacher will be assisted by senior or in doing what we call it teaching support using ICT. Training of teachers, school administration and staff, the use of electronic books and e-learning, meaning that not only the manual hard copy, all this effort have to be under this kind of principle of ethic, fairness, integrity, openness, responsibility, and commitment to accuracy and truth. Okay. Okay, this is also okay. This is similar as thing which I informed just now. Okay, this is effort by the government. We have policy, 3 policies. First, ICT for all students, meaning to say that ICT is used to reduce the digital gap between school, in particular rural area. We have a rural area which lack of Okay, are you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 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 There is signal that there is problem with my side. Okay. Are you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's audible, sir.
Okay. Okay. This is about higher education. We blended with the pure engineering and technology, ICT. And then third, ICT to the management system. ICT will be used to increase productivity, efficiency, and fitness of management system. Meaning to say, we less using paper, we less using manual work. We more on ICT. Meaning, for example, like this one, right? No need for me to go to India. We just online. That's the third policy which done by government. Focusing on concerning on the Ministry of Education, Malaysian education. Okay, this is application of online ethics during COVID pandemic. We have online teaching. So this is a definition which apply in Malaysia. Is defined as a medium where content is delivered through the internet. The term online learning. The terms online learning, e-learning. So another term which you use for online learning is e-learning, computer-based learning, distance learning, and virtual learning are used synonymously. So in Malaysia, we call it e-learning. So as online ethic, we use the term of computer ethic. Okay, this is the figure which imply the e-learning which carry out in Malaysia. So this one, online or distant education that happen in real time, lecturer or teacher and student are online at the same time using the same learning platform. Okay, this is advantages and disadvantages. Classroom and engagement, dynamic learning, instructional depth, mood, live learning session. In Malaysia we use Google Meet. That's why it's a bit huge. It's a bit rarer for me to use Zoom. Okay, live online presentation, collaboration, group work based. So this is this kind of learning. Synchronous learning is used apply in Malaysia. Okay, this is benefit. I think this already touched on by previous speakers. Opportunity for students with unusual curriculum, a self-customized pace of education, faster delivery of lesson, is inexpensive education, promotion of active and independent learning. Revisiting a lesson, meaning to say that student can return and can listen again.
Sir, we couldn't. Presentation is not seen. So.
Okay. Okay, so sorry. I thought. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's now it's visible.
Now okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. This is I repeat again. Okay. This in Malaysia we call it this one online. Okay, meaning that the delivery of knowledge through internet. So in Malaysia we call it e-learning. So this is the figure which in Malaysian application. So we call it synchronous learning, meaning that this education that happen in real time, like this one, like what happened now. So this is about the event, the benefit. I think this is apply now. Learning style. Okay, and this is study done by World Bank. Okay, this is about two different SES, social economic status, disadvantages and advantage based on countries, world countries. Okay, Mexico, the ICT, I mean the online or e-learning is more on rich people, advantage student. Okay, for Japan, equal. No, for Japan, disadvantages do more about on e-learning. Okay, it is about learning ambitious learning goals. We can see the interest of student between two kind of SES, disadvantages and advantages. Disadvantage student and advantage student. For Norway, we can see they prefer to do online learning or e-learning compared to the developed Norway. Okay, this is Israel both. Okay, for Japan, Netherlands here, Japan, for example, for Japan, maybe the advantage student already have ambitious in learning, in using e-learning. Now is the turn for disadvantaged student. Okay, this is a Malaysian study. It's about learning attitude and reading performance among students making intensive using ICT outside of school. Okay, the ambitious learning goal, and then value of school. This is a contributing factor to the enhancing of learning attitude for Malaysian student. Ambitious learning goal, meaning that students have goal, and then value of school, school support, sense of belonging, motivation to master tasks, meaning to say that student aware, they have to master, they have to do their tasks, self-efficiency, enjoyment of reading, less. Okay, association with student performance, reading, support from families. Okay, this is contributing factor to the performance of student using on e-learning. So for what reason e-learning success? So support from parent, teacher, simulation of reading, teacher support, and then the fourth one, teacher directed instruction, teacher interest, teacher feedback, adaptive instruction, meaning that teacher adapt based on context. And then, okay, the last one, the class went online. Teachers saw, this is, we see based on countries, the interest or the effectiveness of what teacher says about online teaching or e-learning. So for Australia, okay, good, but for Japan, they, in other words, they prefer to the manual teaching. US, maybe based on in the term of effectiveness of teaching, Japan, US, UK, China. As for me, for myself, I also like to face-to-face teaching. We can see the performance of students indirectly. Okay, conclusion. The importance of ethic and law application in order to make successful for every undertaking, meaning to say that, I repeat, ethic is more on unwritten, what you call it, which way, unwritten law, we can say unwritten, what we call it, unwritten agreement between society to do right or wrong. This is more on unwritten compared to law. Law is written, meaning to say if we obey, not follow the law, so we are called crime. I think that's all. Thank you. Okay, I pass on this to the chairperson.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Very good presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Each participant acquired knowledge, skills, and many useful tips and techniques from your presentation, sir. It was productive. And internet ethics is what considered to be a morally right and wrong, what is generally accepted by the online community. Everyone took for the opportunity to practice what they learned today. And I want to thank you for the excellent topics in current phase for discussion. May I call upon vote of thanks for vote of thanks, Ms. A. Tangam, Assistant Professor, Dr. MGR, Educational Research Institute, Chennai. Welcome you, ma'am.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The essence of all beautiful art is gratitude. Respected and most distinguished chief guest, honorable professors, and all the participants. On behalf of Faculty of Education, Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute University, and Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, I deem it a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this session such a resounding success. First of all, I would like to propose hearty vote of thanks to our resource person, Dr. Muhammad Faisal bin A. Ghani, Associate Professor, Department of Educational Management, Faculty of Education, University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, for gracing today's session. Thank you, sir, for your very interesting and thought-provoking address, and I especially like the way you explained the topic online ethical practices, very exemplary. I would like to thank all the head and staff members who have made this session a grand success. I would like to extend my special thanks to all partakers for their stoical participation. Once again, I thank each and everyone for their support in this virtual portal. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your gratitude. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Bye.
Bye.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear participant, our feedback link will be in the chat box. Kindly fill it. Dear participant, refresh the YouTube link and while filling the form without fail. I would give my records and appreciation to all the participants for your kind cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, participants, for your wonderful cooperation. The feedback link is shared in the chat box. Kindly fill it and leave the session. We'll meet by tomorrow at same time by 11 o'clock. Thank you. Once you fill the feedback form, you may leave the session. Thank you for your cooperation, participants. Those who have filled the feedback form, kindly leave the session. Thank you.